Lancaster Pistol Reproduction Update Part 2. Today I'll be talking about the reproduction project name, project expenses, and Patreon. So let's jump right into it. When deciding a name for the Lancaster Pistol Reproduction, I wanted to pay homage to both the people that came up with it, which is both Charles Lancaster and Henry Thorne. While both men worked to develop the pistol, it was mainly a summation of a lot of the inventions and improvements to firearms that Charles Lancaster had come up with in previous years. However, because Charles Lancaster passed away before the firearm went into production, Henry Thorne patented the internal rotating firing pin and actually produced all of the Lancaster pistols that made it to the market. Because of this, I wanted the official name of the Lancaster Pistol Reproduction that I am producing to be a tribute to both of its creators. I took a look at both of their names to try to come up with some sort of acronym or combination to use as a name for the reproduction project, and eventually I settled on the name The Thorncaster, with Thorncaster being a combination of the last names Thorne and Lancaster. So here it is thus far in all its glory, Project Thorncaster. However, this project still has a long ways to go before it is completed, which brings me to my next topic, project expenses. 3D model review / GD&T. While I may be proficient at 3D modeling, I am no expert. The models and drawings that I make may not be in line with industry standards, thus resulting in suppliers not wanting to bid on and produce the parts. Also, having someone verify the materials that I will have parts made out of will help bring costs down and help reduce the risk of parts failing in the future. Likewise, the proper implementation of GD&T, otherwise known as geometric dimensioning and tolerancing, which is used to control variations in manufacturing processes, is not something that I am well versed in. Too low of tolerances on parts results in them not fitting and a lot of parts being either scrapped or reworked, while assigning high tolerances to features can drastically inflate the cost of production. Thus, having someone review the models, assign material properties, and help assign GD&T to parts will ensure a smooth transition from design to production. SLA 3D printing. Once the models are finalized, the parts will be sent out to be 3D printed. I plan on using SLA 3D printing due to the higher resolution compared to FDM or SLS 3D printing. This will be a quick and cheap way to do a preliminary fit check of all the parts. Fabrication of prototypes and test articles. While SLA 3D printing will help verify if parts fit early on, a metal prototype will still need to be made. It will most likely be made out of aluminum and steel and is not intended to be fired. Instead, it will be used to test out the clockwork-like mechanisms, such as the extractor, rotating firing pin, and trigger mechanisms, that would be unable to be tested due to the 3D printed parts not being able to stand up to some of the large forces exerted on these mechanisms. Redesigns and newly made parts may be a result of checking the SLA and prototype firearms, but once everything is sorted out, a fully functional test article will be made and put to the test. Testing / proofing the firearm. The test article firearm will undergo a series of tests to ensure that it can reliably handle regular use. The most crucial and destructive of these tests is the proofing of the firearm. Proofing consists of putting high-pressure cartridges through each of the barrels with as much as up to 30% higher pressure than the recommended industry safety standard for a given round. This is done to determine if any part of the firearm will explode or have a catastrophic failure, allowing changes to be made to the design prior to it reaching the market. If this happens, then we pretty much have to go all the way back to the 3D modeling and design phases of the project, which is why I want to put emphasis on design early on. Firearm licenses. To start with, I would need a Type 7 FFL license, which is a manufacturer and dealer of firearms and ammunition. I do not plan on getting my Class 3 SOT, which would allow me to manufacture NFA items such as short-barreled shotguns and smoothbore pistols. The reason being is that the initial Thorncasters that I will release will have more conventionally rifled barrel liners instead of oval bore rifling. However, I do plan on making Thorncaster pistols with oval bore rifling later on down the road, and having the ATF classify them to ensure that I am not manufacturing and selling Class 3 firearms without a license. But if they do decide to classify the Thorncaster pistol with oval bore rifling as a smoothbore pistol, then having that Class 3 SOT will be required to manufacture and sell those later on down the road. Bulk ordering parts for orders. Now, I'm not going to go into the details about how this works, but essentially, the more things you order from a supplier, especially duplicate parts from a manufacturer, can result in the individual price of each part actually going down. and this is known as the bulk price. However, bulk ordering parts prior to generating any revenue from these firearms can prove to be a financial strain. Thus, when it comes time to put the Thorncaster pistols up for sale, I'm not going to have final products ready to ship because doing so would be a huge expense. At this time, the only conceivable way that I could make this work within my given budget is to have people place orders and pay in full. Once I have enough orders, I place bulk orders for parts from suppliers, which then have to be fabricated. Once parts are fabricated, I have to finish machining and assembling the firearms, and once the firearms are ready, I will then be able to ship them out. This is a process that can take months depending on several factors, and having to wait that long from placing an order to receiving a product can be rather frustrating. Thus, that takes me to my next topic of funding this project through Patreon. So all I will be doing in my videos is dropping a little Patreon symbol in the bottom left corner and having a link to my Patreon in the description of each video. Much like how I've never asked anyone to like, subscribe, or smash the notification button in any of my videos, I do not plan on pestering people to donate to the Thorncaster project. If you can tolerate my ranting, enjoy the content, or are interested in helping support the project, do so of your own volition, not because I tell you to in every video. So on to this Patreon thing. So here we have it. AFW Productions is creating the Thorncaster pistol, a Lancaster Pistol Reproduction. The purpose of this Patreon is to help fund the design, fabrication, and testing of the prototype firearms, with any remaining funding going towards bulk ordering parts. This is to prevent the Thorncaster pistol from becoming a made-to-order firearm, and to hopefully prevent it from succumbing to the same follies as the Lancaster pistol, such as high cost, limited production rate, and lack of availability. Now, really quickly, I'd like to talk about the tiers available on Patreon. While I have several tiers, they're broken up into 3 categories, which are as followed. The supporter tier will have access to Discord. The early access follower tier will have access to Discord, merchandise voting, early previews of content, and access to exclusive content. And then the involved investor tier will have access to everything that I just mentioned, including private events, such as a Thorncaster pistol shooting competition and a sponsored hunting event with Thorncaster pistols. Now, why these benefits may change for the different Patreon tiers, it is important to note Patreon's rules regarding firearms and weapons. Per their guidelines, I'm not able to offer a lethal weapon as a benefit, or any payment such as a coupon, gift card, or any other incentive to purchase or obtain a firearm or explosive. So please keep that in mind prior to subscribing to Patreon. Thus, if you have any questions about the content of this video, especially any questions pertaining to Patreon, please leave a comment down below and I'll get back to you guys shortly. But that's all for now. Thanks for watching.